Yo, what's good? Welcome into the show. This is Philadelphia 76ers Now, and we're live right here on Chat Sports. Day 3, NBA free agency. The grind don't stop, and we're so happy that all of you are here with us because no matter where you are or how you're tuned in, we appreciate you for making our live free agency coverage a part of your day. We've already put out 2 videos today, a mailbag from yesterday's live show, and yes, Chip and I did have the conversation. Should the Sixers bring back Ben Simmons if he's bought out by Philadelphia? And coming up on our live show, a lot of interesting stuff to get to. Could Paul Reed get cut? Are the Sixers about to trade for Dorian Finney-Smith? There's a lot of buzz there that we're about to unpack. Let's get the comment section going here and shout out your city. Let us know where you're watching from. We've already got about 100 people watching live already in the immediacy of the show getting underway. Those are things that you'll love to see. Time in the Buckeye, Ohio. Godspeed saying, no sleep till Finney. Peter Thurman is in Delco. Yo! Japoy, Finney. Godspeed saying, chase my man. Japoy is in Los Angeles, California. Lennox the man rocking with us from Delaware. The Doggo Walker. Germany, as we go international. Brigantine, the Beach Bill Viola. You love that. T-Rob saying 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, Sixers. Ball Edits rocking with us from Philly as well. Here is our 76ers Now rundown and everything that we're about to discuss. Are the 76ers about to waive Paul Reed to clear up about $7 million in cap room? Is Daryl Morey working the phones with the Brooklyn Nets to try to trade for Dorian Finney-Smith? My favorite target who's realistic to be the starting 4. And then we're going to do a mailbag. Start getting your questions in right now. Use the hashtag Sixers. And earlier today, we put out our mailbag from yesterday's live show. Video popping off, so I imagine it's pretty cool for a lot of you to see your questions seen by thousands of people. Who has joined us for our free agency live shows already? We were live on Sunday, live on Monday. Now we're live on Tuesday. Chip and I looked at each other after we recorded some NFL shows, and we said, should we just go live at 6 o'clock Eastern? We said, yeah, might as well. Yeah. So here we are. Yeah. No sleep till Finney. Carl typing me. Ball Edits typing me. R. Wilson typing me. Basketball Man said, not me, I was on vacay, but you're here now. So now you can type me. Time in the Buckeye typing me as well. I see Jalen Woods in the chat too. Chip, your first NBA free agency, how's it been? Has it lived up to the excitement here?
I mean, I'll tell you what. With that first night that we had, it was electric. It was a lot of fun. Just seeing everybody hanging out with us that entire night, yesterday as well, like, it's really been a great time. Like, everybody in here making it happen.
10-hour live stream Sunday into Monday.
Man, it's been fun. It's been electric. The Sixers are making moves, which obviously makes it more exciting as well. So it's been a lot of fun every day. The channel's exploding right now, and a lot of people showing their love. Love to see it. Appreciate y'all.
Let's go. Before we went live, Peter Thurman was in the chat, and he said, how much are we drinking tonight? Well, it is Tuesday, and here's our Super Chat menu. We're down to clown, as we always are. Any Super Chats get a shout-out. $5 for a beer cheers. $10 for a wheel spin, $20 for a chip shot, $50 a beer bong or a shotgun. So that right there, our Super Chat menu. And if you're ready to start the show here to talk some Sixers, I need everybody watching right now to hit that thumbs up icon and like the video. We're closing in on 200 people watching live, only 29 likes. Where's everybody at? Hit that thumbs up icon right now. Will Yam said, let's go Daryl, get Finney, Tyrese. If you're worried about Laurie, because we got to pay him, you're not trying to win. I like that line of thinking. You got to be aggressive. Peter Thurman, he's been with us every single day watching our shows. He also said, like this, John. Peter Thurman today is our executive producer. Jeff Phillips said, I think that he was in Japan. And here he is with the $2 Super Chat. with this beautiful family there. You love to see it. How can the 76ers afford Dorian Finney-Smith? Well, we are about to talk about that coming up here in just a few moments, so make sure you stay tuned. He's actually not all that expensive, and you would think that a player of that ilk, of that caliber, is very expensive, but he's certainly affordable for Philadelphia. Now, you might have to overpay in a trade. I was talking to a couple of our Mavs hosts here at the company, and obviously Dorian Finney-Smith played with the Mavericks a couple of years ago, and they were telling me that the Nets turned down 2 first-round picks for Dorian Finney-Smith last year, or at least 2 years ago, and they don't think that the price tag is the same. I would give up a first-rounder for Dorian Finney-Smith. Why? Good for, can defend multiple positions, can hit the three, and is a really good fit alongside Joel Embiid. What do you know? We picked up some more likes, and now we're past 200 people watching live. Can we get to 100 likes here in the next 2 minutes? We need 57 people of the 203 rolling with this right now to hit that thumbs up icon and like the video. Tyrese saying to Michael C., you're right, Michael C., he said the Jazz don't want picks, they want players. We don't have the ammo, not going to happen. Yeah, it could be difficult to pull off a trade for Lauri Markkanen, and that's why Dorian Finney-Smith has become my next target at that 4 spot, because 1, you don't have the players to give up for Lauri Markkanen. 2, Danny Ainge is running basketball ops for Utah. We know his history with Philadelphia. He fleeced the Sixers in the Markelle Fultz, Jason Tatum trade-up. So it's not realistic. And also, the Golden State Warriors are said to be going all in trying to land Lauri Markkanen. They have picks, and they have some player assets. 38 likes away from 100. Please continue to hit that thumbs up icon, like the video. Angela G, she's been with us every single day as well. Peter Thurman, a $5 super chat. He said, let's start drinking. Chip can do his beer cheers. If somebody sends in a 20, I will start drinking as well. Or if somebody sends in a 50, we'll do the beer bong or the shotgun.
Uh-oh. Peter Thurman kicking us off.
Peter Thurman. Make sure you like his super chat as well. Anytime somebody sends in a super chat, make sure you like it. Show him some love. Time in the Buckeye saying like it up. You already know. About to get the show underway here. A lot of people got that notification starting to pile in, and we're about to talk some Sixers here for the 3rd consecutive day live. And we've been pushing out a bunch of content every single day over the last several days. Really appreciate all of the support. So if you're ready to start the show, make some noise. How do you make some noise in the comment section? Well, you hit that thumbs up icon and like the video. Segment number 1, about to get popping. 2 stories that we want to hit. Both have to do with the 4 spot, the power forward position. 1 player already on this team. Another player could soon be on this team. Who is it? Stay tuned to find out. All right, 225 people watching live. We're up to 70 likes. Peter Thurman! A $20 super chat. I'm going to reach over here and take one of Chip's Happy Dads here. PT with the 20. He said before we started the live show, how much are we drinking? Well, here we go.
Peter Thurman.
Here we go, Peter. Here we go. Here we go, Peter. Here we go. Here we go, Peter. Here we go. Delco, yo!
Hey, Peter. On the super chat menu, $20 is a shot, but I don't have any.
Do a chug.
Anything like that, yeah. So
a chug suffices.
I'll give you a little chug.
Walter Miller, Chase, Chipper, you guys have been absolutely amazing during this free agency. Salute. Honestly, when the channel's popping like this, it gets me thinking, what if we just did watch parties for all Sixers games? Imagine how much more the channel would be taking off. But then I'm like, well, I'm grinding during the NFL season.
Yeah, that's tough.
I don't know if I'd even be able to come up for air in doing all the Sixers watch parties. Playoff games, I love it. But either way, we'll continue to give you great coverage here on 76ers Now. A lot of good competitors, too, that I've seen on YouTube, but I think that we've been able to bring our A game over the last couple of months, honestly, and certainly over the last couple of weeks. Okay, segment number 1. About to get underway. We're talking Paul Reed. Is he going to get waived? Could the Sixers trade for Dorian Finney-Smith? It's all coming up right now, live. 76ers Now, day 3 of NBA free agency. Now let's talk some 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Sixers with the best fans and the best subscribers in the entire world. We have another loaded show coming your way on today's Philadelphia 76ers Now, and we want to hit on these two stories here. Are the Sixers about to move on from Paul Reed to clear up some money on the cap? And then story number 2, according to reports, Daryl Morey may be working the phones to try to find out who is going to be the power forward for this basketball team, and could it be Dorian Finney-Smith, who's currently on the Brooklyn Nets. Stay tuned for that, but first, let's take a look at our July sub-battle. Philadelphia 76ers Now has been humming. It has been the best stretch in the history of this program, and I launched this channel during the summer of 2021. The success, the views, the subscribers, the live shows, all of it has been great. And while the Boston Celtics have owned the Sixers on the floor, we are owning Celtics today in subscribers picked up since July 1st. 308 new subs to 73 subs, and they just won a championship. So let's make ourselves feel better about always losing to the Celtics in the playoffs. Let's get that victory inside the walls at Chat Sports. Let's get those bragging rights, hit that sub button, and at the end of the day, you get daily coverage of the Philadelphia 76ers. So if you love this squad, we have you covered with our coverage. Story number 1, is Paul Reed gone? B-ball Paul, second-round pick, solid developmental story. He was a G League sensation. His development, a little bit slow in the early portion of his NBA career. We have seen the glimpses of him being a solid player, but a couple of issues here. Number 1, he's a little bit expensive on a team that is trying to free up some money because they're in need of having to stack up depth on this roster after giving Paul, George, and Tyrese Maxey max contracts, and they need some more depth. Number 2, he's a little bit of a tweener, too small to be the 5, good 4, but he's not a good fit in this starting lineup alongside Joel Embiid, and there are better options out there like trading for Dorian Finney-Smith, who would just make this team so much better if you can acquire him as compared to just having Paul Reed at the 4 on this basketball team. And the 76ers right now kind of expected to waive or trade Paul Reed in order to add another power forward. Michael Scotto of Hoops Hype with the intel here saying this: Philadelphia is scouring the free agent market and potential trade options to land another forward, with Paul Reed expected to be waived or used in a trade, league sources told Hoops Hype. And in addition to Paul Reed being a fun developmental story as a second-round pick, he kind of carries himself in a very Philadelphia type of manner. His saying, his personal saying, out the mud. He's a diamond in the rough, blue-collar guy, always been doubted. B-ball Paul, though, has no guaranteed money left on his deal, so the Sixers very easily can clear up about $8 million in a move just by cutting him. The problem with Paul Reed here, going back to what I alluded to a little bit earlier, you think about who he is as a player, right? And I mentioned some of these things, and we'll add on top of it as part of today's talk show. Not big or strong enough to play the 5. We've seen bigger centers give him problems. He's not fast or skilled enough to play the 4, and he really hasn't developed a reliable outside shot for him to be that 4-man, given the current construction of this roster, alongside Joel Embiid, Paul George, Tyrese Maxey, and Kelly Oubre. That's why a player like Dorian Finney-Smith is a player who we're going to talk about as a great trade candidate. That's why we've brought up a player like Lauri Markkanen, which does seem unrealistic at this point, but those types of players would be a really good fit on the Sixers team. Paul Reed's career stats. There has been growth here, and I don't know if Glenn Rivers did him any favors early in his career by not giving him a bunch of time and minutes and the runway to really develop. Last year, certainly a career year for him, coming off that big contract in which the Utah Jazz tried to snatch him away. 7 points per game, 6 rebounds, a block per night, 54% from the field. Those numbers are pretty good. I wouldn't mind him as a backup, but $8 million for a team that's a little bit cash-strapped, Chip. If you can free that cash flow up, it just helps you build out the rest of your roster, and the Sixers are in need of having to do that right now.
Yeah, look, Sixers, according to all reports, have about $9 million in available cap space right now. It's not a ton. And again, Paul Reed's making just around $8 million. So if you straight up cut him, you can save that money. You could also include him in a trade, which I think is more likely that they include him in a trade for another forward, which again, we'll talk about here in a second. But I've been a big fan of Paul Reed ever since he's come to the 76ers. I mean, his development, he was very, very raw coming out of DePaul, I believe. And he's developed, somewhat slowly, but we've seen those flashes, right? He has games where you can see it all kind of come together for him, and he's able to play solid defense and have good touch around the rim.
Yeah.
And play smart. But there's also so many moments where he doesn't play smart. He doesn't have that awareness to use the skills that he does have to his best advantage. And in the G League, he was able to shoot it from the outside. He was able to shoot the three ball. But he hasn't been able to do that in the NBA. And so while I think theoretically he could play the 4 and play next to Joel Embiid, that depends on if that outside shot can hit or not. And it hasn't been able to fall reliably in the NBA. So as much as I love Paul Reed, I love his mentality, I love what he's about and what he brings to this team, I just don't think that $8 million, if they can find a useful way to spend it, whether that's cutting him and signing someone or using it as a trade piece, I think it just makes more sense to let him go. So it sucks to see, obviously just re-signed him last year after the Jazz tried to steal him away. But look, this team's competing for a championship this year. And unless Paul Reed is able to develop a jumper, he doesn't really have much of a way for play time, honestly. So might be on his way out. We'll see what happens here in the next coming days.
Think about what has happened and what could happen for Philadelphia. You upgraded from Tobias Harris to Paul George. Massive upgrade. In pay, yes. But as far as the construction of your team, you were so much more better off with Paul George as compared to Tobias Harris. Imagine, too, if you could use some of that money that currently is being allocated to Paul Reed, and you use that to acquire Dorian Finney-Smith, how much of an upgrade that would be. I know that sometimes we can get emotional about players who we like and wanting to keep them around. What I'm worried about, putting together the best team possible. And Daryl Morey is trying to do that as well. With that, let's pop up today's poll question. What should the 76ers do with B-Ball Paul? T for trade or K for keep? Let us know down in the comment section right now. Story number 2, will the Sixers trade Paul Reed as part of a package for Dorian Finney-Smith so that he can be the 4 on this team? A lot of buzz right now that the Sixers are interested in DFS. That is Dorian Finney-Smith. And they're showing interest in him to maybe be the 4-man for this team, which would complete their starting 5, by the way, I would imagine. And it would be Tyrese Maxey at the 1, Kelly Oubre at the 2, Paul George at the 3, Dorian Finney-Smith, otherwise known as Dodo, at the 4, and then Joel Embiid at the 5. It's one of the best starting 5s in the entire NBA. The Sixers already have the highest scoring big 3 with PG, Maxey, and Embiid from last year. Michael Scotto once again from Hoops Hype on this front. The 76ers have exploratory interest in trading for Nets forward Dorian Finney-Smith, league sources told Hoops Hype, but nothing is considered imminent there. Well, Daryl Morey, I want things to be imminent. No sleep till Finney. He is a perfect 3-and-D wing to start at the 4. He can guard multiple positions. He can knock down that corner 3. He's very active on both ends of the floor. He fits seamlessly. I think back to how he played on a star-studded team a couple of years ago that made it to the Western Conference Finals with the Dallas Mavericks. Luka Doncic, Jalen Brunson, Dorian Finney-Smith hit big shots during that playoff run. He had a lot of big defensive sequences, and the numbers don't necessarily scream at you, right? But this is a player who's going to score it a little bit. He's going to fit in seamlessly. He's going to rebound the basketball. He's going to play hard. His three-point numbers the last 2 years with the Brooklyn Nets have not been great. 33.7% and 34.8%. There's a reason for that. The Nets have had an awful team. So Dorian Finney-Smith has not gotten the looks that he was getting previously with the team like the Dallas Mavericks, and look at what he did when he was on a better squad. He comes to Philadelphia, he's on a better squad. He was a 39% three-point shooter. I think that he can get back to that type of production. His advanced stats in 2023, 2024. Again, I expect these numbers to be on the uptick when he's playing on a better team because teams aren't going to be focusing on him. They're going to be focused on Paul George, Maxey, and Joel Embiid. Catch and shoot three-point percentage, nearly 35%. You'd like for that to be higher. I think it could be for Philadelphia. This is projecting here, but teams have to project for what a player could become if you're looking at him as a trade candidate. Corner three-point percentage, 34.5%. Above the break three-point percentage, 35.2%. And then his true shooting percentage, 54.5%. Philadelphia could also use the decline in numbers to their advantage in their negotiations with the Brooklyn Nets and say his numbers haven't been the same from when they were a couple of years ago. According to reports, you turned down 2 first-round picks for Dorian Finney-Smith 2 years ago. We're not going to give you 2 firsts, but we'll give you a first in Paul Reed. I think that gets the job done. Another part of this is that for the player that you could be getting in Dorian Finney-Smith, if he plays up to his potential, he's very affordable. I'm willing to pay this salary, this money, for a player who can defend multiple positions, who fits in on the offensive end of the floor. Sub $15 million for 2024, 2025, and then 15.3 in 2025, 2026. What have the Sixers also talked about? Having continuity, having some of the same pieces around together for a couple of years. There's been so much movement, so much roster fluidity under Joel Embiid throughout his entire career. He just wants to build camaraderie and continuity with his teammates. Now you can start to have the makings of that. You signed Paul George to a 4-year contract. You signed Maxey to a max, right? You signed Kelly Oubre to a 2-year deal. Second year player option, but still Andre Drummond, 2-year deal. Second year is that option. Dorian Finney-Smith, 2 years left on his contract. So you know over the next 2 years what your team pretty much is going to be. Here is our Dorian Finney-Smith trade idea, by the way, and let us know what you think about it down in the comment section here. 76ers get Dorian Finney-Smith, and then the Nets get Paul Reed because they play the same position. Him alongside Nick Claxton, not the best fit, but he can be your backup 5. He could be a starting or backup 4 on a bad team. And then you give up a 2026 first-round pick. And that pick, you also have the Clippers picks at your disposal. And the Nets are in a position right now where it looks as though they're going to rebuild. So you have some flexibility with what you could give up as far as the draft compensation for DFS. Chip, Dorian Finney-Smith. Not the player that Lauri Markkanen is, but maybe in that next tier or a tier below.
Yeah, look, I think he'd still be sort of that perfect missing piece in the Sixers starting 5. Every team, every championship team needs these guys that are low maintenance on offense. They don't need the ball. They don't need to be scoring all the time. And they can play defense. And that's what DFS does, you know. Again, we talked about how the numbers with the Nets haven't been good. They haven't had a true point guard to set up other players. They've been rocking with Cam Thomas, who is a score-first guard. They've been trying to make Mikal Bridges more of a playmaker, but he's never really been that as well either. So I think, again, it will be more similar to when he was with Dallas, shooting close to 40% from 3. He's going to get a lot of wide-open looks playing with the Sixers. Maxey, Paul George, Kelly Oubre, Joel Embiid. They're all going to draw all the attention. And hopefully, the hope is that Dorian Finney-Smith can stand in that corner, stand above the break, catch and shoot, knock down those threes. But again, I think most importantly, it's that defensive versatility. He can guard 2 through 4 realistically. He's not going to cost you too much. You know, would the Nets want 2 first-round picks? Maybe. Would I be willing to do it? Maybe they'd be willing to do it if instead of just the Sixers first, you included just the Clippers first, which at this point could be a very valuable pick in 2028. You know, would they ask for Ricky Council? then is that like, do you want to give up Paul Reed and Ricky Council? It's tough, but again, you're a team trying to win a championship, right? And I think Dorian Finney-Smith is a player that all teams covet, 3-and-D wings that are reliable, that are pretty cheap for the most part. So Sixers have interest. I think it all makes sense when you consider they're trying to move Paul Reed. They're interested in Dorian Finney-Smith. I would predict a move happens. We'll see what the compensation might be. But Dorian Finney-Smith, could he be the last piece for Philly? We will find out.
So that trade that we just showed you, the trade that we discussed, let's pop it back up here and ask you what you think. I see Walter Miller in the comment section live on our show saying, I would just do a player-for-player swap. But for Dorian Finney-Smith, I don't think the Nets take that. That's why I think you include the first rounder here. Would you make this trade? Sixers get Dorian Finney-Smith, Nets get Paul Reed, and a 2026 first rounder. Type A for accept, D for decline. As you venture down to get those votes in, make sure you subscribe to the channel. The best stretch in the history of Philadelphia 76ers now. Be a part of the movement. Hit that sub button right now, and don't forget to turn on those notifications. Therefore, anytime we go live, anytime we push out a show, you'll be notified. Great stuff for segment number 1. Going to do a mailbag to round things out coming up here, segment number 2. Shawana Rivers, Brad McGrady, Season, Jess Rich, Chiney, Luther Jones, all getting their votes in here. Luther, the only one that I saw who would decline it. Walter Miller, I guess I would accept it. Realness saying accept. Ball edits accept. I'd give up 2 firsts before I give up Ricky Council. Yeah, we didn't give up Ricky Council in that trade, but we are Ricky Council stands here on the show. Almost 500 people watching live. We did get past 500 viewers during that segment. 113 likes if you haven't already done so. Do what Walter Miller said. Hit that thumbs up icon. Like the video. Some moves here today. We talked about yesterday Jonathan Isaac being that really good four-man and defender for Philadelphia. Had no idea he was going to be able to land a 5-year, $84 million deal. He's barely played over the last couple of years, but good for him for getting the bag. Xavier Tillman re-signing with the Boston Celtics on a 2-year deal. Boston pretty much going to run it back with every single player who was on their roster from last year. Monte Morris signing with the Phoenix Suns. Full details we will certainly see. Mo Wagner going back to the Orlando Magic. It looked as though to start his career, he was going to be a bust, but to get $11 million per, pretty good. James Wiseman, former number 2 overall pick in the 2020 draft, signing with the Indiana Pacers on a 2-year deal. They lost Jalen Smith, so they filled that loss with James Wiseman. Donovan Mitchell, this news coming forward this morning, signing a massive contract extension with the Cleveland Cavaliers, 3 years, $150 million. And then Sixers legend Mo Bamba signing a 1-year deal with the Los Angeles Clippers. The former lottery pick has really disappointed and just doesn't have a great feel for the game. Gary Harris back to the Orlando Magic, 2-year, $15 million contract. And this garnered a lot of conversation in the Chat Sports office. Jason Tatum signing a max contract extension, supermax with the Boston Celtics. 5 years, $314 million. He could have gotten $315 million. But because he grew up in the St. Louis area and the area code is the 314, he took $314 million. Can I take that extra mil? I could pay off the rest of my student loans. I can be in a good spot, get out of debt. That'd be awesome. That'd be awesome. Champ Burns, $2 super chat. We have trade exceptions. Can we use those somehow? Of course. Of course you can utilize those. Chip is the Bobby Marks of Chat Sports, so he's looking into those possibilities right now.
Yeah, I know they have a trade exception from the Harden deal. Let's see. Yeah, so they have a $6 million trade exception from the Harden deal that expires in October, so they can still use that. They have some other small ones. They have a $5 million trade exception from the Furkan Korkmaz trade. That doesn't expire until 2025. I don't think you can combine them. But they also have $9 million in cap space right now. That's why if you do Paul Reed and picks for Dorian Finney-Smith, you can just absorb his salary because they do have that money.
Breaking news just in. Kyle Anderson is signing a 3-year, $27 million deal with the Golden State Warriors.
Wow.
Kyle Anderson to the Golden State Warriors.
Oh, it's going to be a sign and trade.
Is it really?
Yeah. So Woj says it's going to be a sign and trade. I would have liked Kyle Anderson. That brother cannot shoot, though. I'll tell you that. Cannot shoot. I wouldn't have loved the spacing that he brought. But he's a smart player. Good playmaker. Can do some things with the ball. But his jump shot takes 17 years to load up.
I did see some comments, too. Can we get Dario Saric or Saddiq Bey? Both players are players who I like. Both players are targets for me. I think both would be affordable, and I'd be fine with either. Saddiq Bey more of a wing as compared to a 4, whereas Saric is that true 4 who can play small ball 5. I'd like to bring Saric back. People are trying to tell me that he's washed, that he can't play any longer. He's 30 years old. Guy's played in a bunch of international games. For Croatia today, he was balling.
Oh, he had a near triple-double.
He had a near triple-double. He can stretch the floor, no fear at all. He can put the ball on the floor at least a little bit. At the top of the key, good passer. He can generate some offense with the DHO. I really like Dario Saric. And I think he'd be a really affordable player, too.
I actually want to see this because, yeah, Dario Saric had 19, 10, and 10.
Don't tell me he's cooked.
And beat Luka Doncic.
I know it was against Slovenia, but still. He's a baller. They got to re-sign Terry Johnson. When I hear Terry, what is you doing, Terry? Terry! 4th of July coming up. I know the fireworks were going on. Is that when Terry was in the wheelchair and the fireworks were just popping around him?
Terry Johnson. What is campaign doing, man? What is campaign doing?
Walter Miller, Dario Saric would be a very affordable signing indeed. Oh, is that the name that he used?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious. Come on, Tara. Come on, Cam.
Unreal.
What is you doing, baby? Corey Childs, what up, brother?
Some pretty good money for Kyle Anderson. Sixers could have afforded this. 3 years, 27 is what, 9 a year?
Yep.
So theoretically, could have afforded that. But again, I don't think the greatest fit necessarily.
No, he can't shoot. Has maybe the ugliest jump shot I've ever seen, and that's uglier than Sean Marion.
Yeah, it's like
wrong sport, Sean Marion. Sean Marion.
It's bad.
What was his nickname again?
The Matrix?
The Matrix. Terry Johnson over Kyle Lowry from G's Gambino. Do you think our big 3 will be all-stars? Good question. All 3 capable.
Oh, man.
All 3 capable.
You got to think, for sure, obviously Embiid will if he's healthy. I think Maxi's a lock as well. It just comes down to what do Paul George counting stats look like and how good are they? Because to get 3 all-stars, you probably got to be like a top 2 seed in the East.
Yeah, with the way that Philadelphia rallies behind its players, too, they'll get a shit ton of votes in all-star voting. Look at our sub count here, approaching 18,000 subs. We are 531 people away from that number, so if you haven't hit that sub button, do that right now, especially if you're enjoying today's show, because this is what we bring to the table. And there we go. Just picked up another real one. Shout out to you, whoever you are,
yes,
for
sir.
hitting that sub button right now. Where are we at on the mailbag? We need some more questions?
Oh, we need some questions. And people have been asking questions, but you haven't bers using hashtag 76ers. So if you've asked a question already, want to get it on the show so that thousands of people can see it, use hashtag 76ers in your question. Iron Mike, you got to get rid of that space in there. You got to get rid of that space in there. Or else we're not going to be able to get it.
Yeah, hashtag 76ers or Super Chat. There are so many comments that come in, so it just makes Chip's job a lot easier if you use that hashtag to filter through everything because we have it on a filter, and then all in one bucket, the hashtag 76ers questions go in there.
Yeah, T, go ahead. Trade targets, like
anything.
Anything, man.
We can talk Jared McCain's fingernails. We can talk Paul George, fit, scheme, free agent targets, trade targets, Daryl Morey, crumble cookies, whatever. Iron Mike, good stuff by you.
Yes, sir. Yeah, Ball Edits already asked one earlier, so.
K2K, Season Natty. Kyle Kuzma, DHF. I don't think he's gettable as far as a trade because you have to give up too much. And I'm not giving up too much for Kyle Kuzma. Plus, that clashes with Paul George at the wing spot. I don't think you want to have PG or Kuzma at the 4.
Yeah, it's just 2 first-round picks, man. I get them wanting that and wanting to get something for their best player, but I'm not giving up 2 firsts for Kyle Kuzma.
Kendrick Lewis, would you bring back Isaiah Joe? I would have, but he re-signed with Oklahoma City. Sixers should have never cut him to begin with. Good stuff by XQC. Love the participation here. Heem the Dream. How much will they be willing to spend on role players? They have how much in cap space?
They have $9 million right now.
$9 million
and then they also have like the biannual exception that's like $5 million. They can obviously cut Paul Reed or re-sign Buddy Hield and sign and trade him maybe.
Yeah. All right. I think we're getting enough questions here.
Yeah, we got plenty now.
For our mailbag segment.
About to start the show, so last chance here to get one in. As we're getting a bunch of good ones right now. Good stuff. Good stuff.
Yeah, love the love from everybody, man. It's awesome. Chip and Chase, 2 kids growing up in Philly, talking about the Sixers for a living, getting paid to do so. Call it a dream come true. All right, mailbag time here on 76ers Now. We're going to take your questions for our final segment here as we're doing a quick live show today because we wanted to give the people what they want. Let's do it. Welcome into the show. This is Philadelphia 76ers Now by Chat Sports. I'm Chase Sr. As always, no matter where you are, how you're tuned in, we appreciate you for making today's show a part of your day. What we're going to do, once again, open up the floor for a mailbag segment. We did this the other day. It was highly successful. A lot of people enjoyed it. It's part of our live show, so we're going to run it back. First, if you like the Sixers offseason moves, what they've done so far up to this point, then I want you to hit that thumbs up icon and like the video. If you're not a fan of what Philadelphia has done, I want you to comment why. Let's see what you come up with. Let's get it started with this $2 super chat from Jeff Phillips. How can the 76ers afford Dorian Finney-Smith? Well, he's a pretty affordable player. We do have his contract available that we can show you, and there's a couple of ways that Philadelphia can approach this, right? You trade for Dorian Finney-Smith, you clear up some money by trading away Paul Reed or releasing him, you give up a first-round pick. I think that deal gets it done for the Brooklyn Nets, and then these contractual figures are pretty affordable here. I think that he'd be a really good 4 alongside Joel Embiid in the front court. He can knock down the 3. Love his defensive intensity and his defensive versatility. I also like how he's under team control for the next 2 years. His numbers have suffered a little bit the last 2 years with Brooklyn, but I think that's because he's been on a bad team. I think on a good team, the numbers increase to the levels of what they were like when he was with the Dallas Mavericks, playing with Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving. But right in the neighborhood of $15 million, that's pretty solid. And Philadelphia, I think they should make this move because Lauri Markkanen is not realistic. The Jazz want players. Sixers don't have that. They only have picks. That next tier, Dorian Finney-Smith. Nice with it. Bobby Portis is the missing link to get to the championship. I like Bobby Portis as a player. I think that Bobby Portis is mentally and physically tough. I like his ability, too, to shoot the three. He has shown that he can be a piece on a championship team because he won that title with the Milwaukee Bucks. But for him, you'd have to trade for him. He is not an unrestricted free agent. He will be an unrestricted free agent during the 2026-2027 offseason, has a player option for next year. This year, $12.5 million. But if you think he's the missing link to winning a championship, I think the Bucks look at him in the same way, and why would they do business with Philadelphia and trade him to a team that they're going to be competing with and against in the Eastern Conference? Corey Childs, can the Sixers bring back Buddy Hield? Let's bring on producer Chip. What do you think about this potential move here?
Yeah, look, so the Sixers have his bird rights, so they can go over the cap to sign him. They have about $9 million left in cap, but they'll be able to re-sign him if they want. You know, with the signings they made, I'm not sure they're really going to be too interested in bringing Buddy Hield back. Like, they signed an Eric Gordon who can be your three-point shooter off the bench. They have Jared McCain, so I'm not really sure where Buddy Hield fits. I don't think you want to start him. You know, they're going to be starting Oubre at the 2, and then you have Eric Gordon as your backup 2. I don't think you want to play Buddy Hield at the 3 either. I think maybe you could go sign and trade route if you're trying to trade for a player, more of a star player with a higher salary. If somehow a Lauri Markkanen trade were to take place and were to happen, or maybe a Brandon Ingram trade can still happen, I could see a Buddy Hield sign and trade happening because, again, you can sign him to a little bit of a larger salary to help match those salaries in a potential trade. If the Sixers didn't sign Eric Gordon or Kelly Oubre, I might have been okay with them bringing back Buddy Hield. It's just tough right now. I don't really see where he fits in the rotation. He's still a free agent, still just sitting out there. No team has really offered him much of anything yet. We'll see what he gets in the market. I'm thinking maybe $10 to $12 million a year for a player that I think can still be really good. Had a tough time with the Sixers, but maybe they can work something out and they can figure out a way to get him in the rotation. But at this moment in time, while they can bring him back, I'm just not so sure that they would right now.
Yeah, I know I've said this a couple of times here on the show, but think about who's putting together this team. Daryl Morey. He puts together the roster as he sees fit. He is the one, of course, who made the trade for Buddy Hield going into the deadline. And with the way that Buddy Hield played right after that acquisition, we were saying here on the show, can't wait to see how Buddy Hield plays when Joel Embiid comes back, because you would imagine he's going to get a lot of open looks. Then Buddy Hield struggled without Joel Embiid. Embiid came back. Hield struggled to fit in. He was excellent in that Game 6 against the Knicks in that first round when he caught fire. Frankly, I thought Nick Nurse should have played him more in that second half. But when Daryl Morey says he didn't really fit in as well as we thought he was going to, I thought that signaled that Hield would not return. Realness. We continue to get questions about Miles Bridges here. And I thought some people made some okay points in the comment section. And this might be just tapping into where we are in society in 2024, but like, people are going to complain about Jared McCain painting his fingernails, yet they want to bring in Miles Bridges with some of the personal baggage that he has. Now, I understand that nothing really came out of the case that he was involved with, but it didn't look good from the jump. If you just want to talk about this from a basketball and financial standpoint, I think he's a good stats, bad team player. He's not consistent enough from 3. I like his athleticism, but I don't think that he would be a good fit on this team. And also, I think he'd be a little bit too expensive for Philadelphia. Now, if they brought him in, he's, of course, a really talented player, a high flyer, but can he play that 4 spot on this lineup? I'm not sure if he could. And this is a player who has always played for a loser organization in the Charlotte Hornets. And so how would he adapt to a place that has winning expectations in a city like this that can be cutthroat? I don't know. Some thoughts there. I've never really liked his game all that much, although I will give him credit for getting in the lab and making a lot of improvements from Michigan State. Because at Michigan State, he ran the floor, excellent athlete. He kind of dominated with his physicality and his size, but at the NBA level, he has added to his bag, and I'll give him his flowers for that. Who is your ideal 76ers trade target? We've talked about a couple of trade targets so far on today's show, but you drop me a name right now. Iron Mike 462, both Dario Saric and Saddiq Bey, are they possibilities? I think both Dario Saric and Saddiq Bey are possibilities. A lot of people in Philadelphia very familiar with Saddiq Bey because he played his college ball under Jay Wright at Villanova. I think he's more of a wing as compared to being a 4. He has had stretches of very good play in which he's been a solid offensive player, a big body and a physical body who's athletic on the defensive end of the floor, has had some injury issues over the last couple of years, and right now he's coming off a torn ACL. So there's no saying as to when he might be back from that injury. I know there have been medical advancements made, but still, he tore his ACL, so he could miss a bulk of this upcoming season. Do you take a flyer and give him a vet min when you don't have a lot of money? I'm down for a vet min for Saddiq Bey, and then you hope for the rest once he does come back, whenever he returns. As for Dario Saric, I'm a big fan of Dario Saric, always have been. I thought that he played excellent for Philadelphia once this era really got off the ground with Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons. Dario Saric was kind of that third player as part of that big 3, or at least Philadelphia big 3. I like Saric for a couple of reasons. He could play the 4 and would be an awesome fit in this starting 5. That's number 1. Number 2, he can play small ball 5 and kind of give you those Nick Batum minutes. Number 3, he can hit the 3. I like his ability to create for others as far as DHOs, dribble handoffs, being able to find guys on the backdoor cut. He's a very smart and savvy player who also has no fear, has played in a bunch of big international games. And on Tuesday, Croatia played Slovenia, and Croatia took down Luka Doncic's Slovenian team, and Dario Saric nearly had a triple-double. People are trying to tell me that Dario Saric is cooked. He's only 30 years old. Last year for the Golden State Warriors, he played pretty well, shot just under 40% from three-point range, and I think that he would be a really good and affordable player and a great fit on the Sixers team. I think he could be the starting 4, and a reunion would be a lot of fun because he was the fan favorite. Draft and stash for Sam Hinkie way back in the day. Process. Jacob Beauchamp. Kyle Lowry coming back, do you think? Chip, we've talked about Kyle Lowry obviously a few times. I think on a vet min as a backup point guard who can play on ball, off ball. I wouldn't hate to see him come back. We'll see what happens with Cam Payne. Maybe one of those 2 players does return.
Yeah, we'll see. The Suns were rumored to be interested in Kyle Lowry, and they went out and signed Monte Morris, so the Clippers are still a team that was linked to him a little bit, but I like the Sixers' chances of getting Kyle Lowry back. He's just going to be a vet min guy more than likely, so they have an open roster spot. They can just go sign him. He could be a good mentor to Jared McCain. I would love to see Kyle Lowry back, and at this point, I don't really see why he'd want to leave. I mean, homecoming at Philadelphia doesn't really seem like he's going to the Knicks to play with those Villanova guys, so why would he want to be anywhere else? I'd love Kyle Lowry back. He was very solid for this team last year in the playoffs. He can still hit the 3, play a little bit of defense, make a little bit.
Set a charge.
Exactly. He sets the tone, man. He sets the tone. And that's what I'd like to see. I think he can get it done.
Yeah, F. Chillaxing too said no one wants Saric, and also said cut the propaganda when talking about Miles Bridges. Look, I think culture matters. Philadelphia's had cultural problems, and they've been a losing organization for a really long time. I want winners. I want a sound culture. That's what the Sixers are trying to build, and I don't want to take away from that. Just where I come from. Plus, again, pure basketball talk here, I don't like the player all that much for the price tag that he might demand, and I don't like the fit on the Sixers team. That's where I'm at. 76ers Show 2.0. Where is Lauri Markkanen going? Golden State Warriors said to be very interested in him. According to Monty Poole, who works for NBC Sports Bay Area, they're going to go all in. So that would be my guess. The San Antonio Spurs, also mentioned as a team, that has interest in Lauri Markkanen. Heem the Dream, impact of Paul George. With Paul George signed to a max contract, how will the Sixers adjust their offensive and defensive schemes to maximize his talents alongside Embiid and Maxey? That is a really good question. Look, defensively, he's obviously going to take some of the top wings night in, night out. That's partially why you bring him in, is to be a really good wing defender and guard the likes of Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. Against Jalen Brunson, in that playoff series this year, you had Kelly Oubre and Nick Batum guarding Jalen Brunson. Now Paul George would make his job a little bit more difficult, so it helps you out there as far as your defensive thinking. Offensively, I don't really think you switch up much of what you do. Tyrese Maxey is still going to be the primary ball handler and creator for himself and others. You're still going to run a lot of two-man game with Joel Embiid and Maxey, and that can lead to a pick and pop, a pick and roll, that can lead to Maxey hitting a three, that can lead to Maxey throwing it behind the back to Embiid to pop the three, that can lead to a little lob, Maxey floater game, Maxey drive. I think that Paul George can run a little two-man game with Joel Embiid, kind of like what Jimmy Butler did back in the day with Embiid. But look at Jimmy Butler's fit with the Sixers, and I think that Paul George nowadays and in the future is going to have that type of fit too. He could bring the ball up. He can create for himself. He can play off ball. I just think he is such a huge upgrade from what the Sixers had in Tobias Harris. So those are some things to expect. That's some thinking on what the Sixers might do on both ends. It just makes you a better ball club on both ends of the floor, and that's why I was a fan of that move. And I haven't really seen the signs of decline for Paul George either. He's put up really good numbers and almost identical numbers the last couple of years. Marcus Cross, last question in this mailbag. Ben Simmons got to do something about his shooting, but if the Nets buy him out, I think he fits. What's your thoughts? So it's so funny that you say that. We're live right now on Tuesday, July 2nd, and earlier today, we did a video on Ben Simmons talking about the social media traction or the social media chatter about Sixers fans wanting to bring Ben Simmons back. If he gets bought out by the Nets and you can get him on a vet min, I still probably wouldn't do it, but I am intrigued at the idea for this reason. If Ben Simmons is your backup secondary floor runner and ball handler, and he can run that second unit, we've seen how special Ben Simmons can be as a point guard. He's so passive. He's always so scared to shoot, so he fills in well on that role. Defensively, though, is where I think you would reap the biggest dividends of having Ben Simmons back. Against Luka Doncic, there really hasn't been a player who's guarded Luka as well as Ben Simmons over the last couple of years. It's just a fact. He does a terrific job defensively. You don't have to worry about Ben Simmons closing games. And because he's a bad free throw shooter and can't shoot, you don't have to worry about that problem. It's not like he's your number two next to Joel Embiid. And then you have another wing defender in addition to Paul George who can guard Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, and a Jalen Brunson. And I think the Sixers need to get a little bit better defensively in guarding wings. So, look, this is coming from somebody who thinks Ben Simmons is a stiff, who hates his lack of accountability, him always being content with being good, not great, especially when he has so much natural ability. He's never tapped into his fullest potential. Tired of seeing the jump shots in the offseason, but him never taking those jump shots in the game. But defensively, on a vet min, running your second unit, you could do worse. I also worry about how that would affect the 76ers culture. If you want to be featured on a future show, subscribe. Hit that sub button. Hit that bell icon. Turn on those notifications. Therefore, when we go live, you will be notified. This is Philadelphia 76ers Now. Myself and Chip Skull every single day provide you with content that is insightful, informative, entertaining, thought-provoking, that involves you. If that sounds good and you like the Sixers, hit that sub button. So the most recent move, Kyle Anderson signing with the Golden State Warriors, a 3-year deal, $27 million. It is a little bit of a weird fit when you think about him playing with Draymond Green, now that I think about that. But I guess as part of your second unit.
Yeah, I can't imagine. They're kind of very similar skill sets. Yeah. So yeah, that's got to be a bench piece there. I don't. You wouldn't want to run Kyle Anderson at the 3. I don't think he. The spacing on that team would be atrocious around Steph Curry. Want to get to some of these questions that we couldn't get on the show.
Yeah,
a lot of
it.
questions. Heem the Dream said how McCain fit into the Sixers' potential backcourt rotation alongside Maxey and Eric Gordon. I think he's not going to start. At least not right away for sure. I think he'll start off getting maybe 10, 12 minutes a game. We'll see if they go out and sign another point guard. If they don't, until they sign either Kyle Lowry or Campaign back, he's kind of the backup 1, backup 2 right now. Now, obviously you have Gordon, who I think is going to be the main backup 2 because they're going to start Oubre at the 2. But I think he gets a good 10, 12 minutes a game to start off his rookie season. And then, depending on his play, we'll see how it goes. They were very high on him, on Jared McCain, so I would be surprised if he doesn't get run right away. They had him as a top 10 player in the class, so I think he'll get some burn to start off.
Maybe tomorrow, based upon the questions that we're getting, or at some point before the end of the week, we can do free agent targets who the Sixers can sign to a vet min deal. And there's a couple of names here that are interesting. Like we talked about Dario Saric, we talked about Saddiq Bey. I saw somebody just comment about Lonnie Walker, a backup wing there that could work. Tari Eason, is he under contract?
I believe he is under contract.
Yeah, I don't think that he's a free agent possibility.
Yeah, I don't.
17th overall pick in 2022, so he's definitely still on that rookie deal. What are some other vet min guys that people were talking about? Some solid options there, though. Heem the Dream with another one. How will Jared McCain fit into the 76ers backcourt rotation? I think he plays off-ball with Tyrese Maxey at times. Maybe sometimes he runs that second unit, and then at times, too, he's playing off-ball as the 2 guard on that second unit. It's going to be tough to really play Maxey and McCain a lot together because they're both kind of shorter. Marcus Morris, another name there.
Morris for sure.
DeRozan, too expensive, Patrick Dempsey. I think he's going to be too expensive. I also think he's going to go to the Lakers.
Will the Tyus Jones trade? I don't know if you really, how much
he's
are
a
you
free
willing
agent
to give up?
too, so that would be a sign and trade.
Yeah, it'd be a sign and trade, and it's like, how much are you willing to give up for what would be a backup point guard for you that would kind of just get in the way of Jared McCain, honestly?
Why not bring in Kyle Lowry?
Yeah, I don't know if because honestly, Wizards would probably want, rightfully so, 1 first-round pick for Tyus Jones. I'm just not giving up a first-round pick for Tyus Jones for this team. I don't think it makes sense for the Sixers. XQC proposing a trade. If you're the Sixers, would you take this deal? Trade Paul Reed, a first-round pick, and 2 seconds for Cam Thomas? I would not. Only because I don't think Cam Thomas and Tyrese Maxey is a viable long-term backcourt. They're both pretty ball dominant, especially Cam Thomas. I don't like the fit there. I think the value that's pretty decent value, but just not a player I think fits well on this team.
Yeah.
Yeah, Marcus Morris. Could always get Robert Covington back. He was injured last year. Had a weird knee injury that he never really recovered from. Is there a buyout candidates? So, this won't really happen till the deadline, but thinking of buyout candidates already? It's a little early.
Yeah, a little early for that. It's hard to tell who would be a buyout candidate.
Yeah, maybe didn't Malcolm Brogdon just get traded to the Wizards?
Yep.
So I could see he's always a candidate, but Malcolm Brogdon certainly could be a buyout candidate. We talked about Ben Simmons.
Let's see. Somebody said Precious Achiuwa. I wouldn't mind him, as a backup 4. I don't know about him as your starting 4. Nick Nurse is familiar with him. He can shoot the corner 3 a little bit, but not to the likes of a Dorian Finney-Smith, which is why I really like that fit.
Being a Philadelphia native, could Justin Edwards provide an emotional boost to the team and the fan base?
I like him as a player.
Yeah, if he can work out, man. Being from Philly, he's definitely, obviously, he's got the right, mindset, and he's got what it takes to play here. But the question is, Is he good enough, honestly?
All right, let's do this. Both of our segments are done. We'll hang out for a little while, but we're going to pop up a 2-minute Super Chat shot clock. If you send in a Super Chat within the 2 minutes, we will stay live. If not, we will just sign off and call it a day. Here's our Super Chat menu. Any Super Chat gets a shout out, $5 for a beer cheers, $10 for a wheel spin, $20 a chip shot, $50 for a beer bong or a shotgun. Giordano Molina, hello from Philadelphia. What up, brother? Why are y'all seriously entertaining a Ben Simmons comeback? I wouldn't say we're seriously entertaining it, but we are having a conversation about whether or not it would be a good move. First of all, he has to get bought out. But it's an interesting and fun conversation to have. And we like to have those types of conversations here on this show.
I like this one from Heem the Dream. Following his breakout year, what area Maxi's game can we expect to see the most improvement in next season? I think he can make some serious strides on defense, and I think he has the ability to. Even though he's small, we know he's quick, and he's aggressive, and we know how hard he works, that he certainly has a certain ceiling just because he is shorter. But I think he could be a good defender. Like, you know, in his prime, Steph Curry was never a great defender, but he wasn't bad either. He was serviceable. He was solid on that end. Like, we've seen Luka at times be able to play better defense, even though, you know, kind of depends if he's trying or not.
Right.
But he can play good defense. Like, Maxey works hard enough. I think he could be a solid defender.
Yeah, I think in the Knicks series, he showed some serious ability too as a passer.
Yeah.
And I think that he can get a little bit better as a passer just naturally because he's going to have the ball a little bit more. Patrick Dempsey saying it would be madness if the Sixers brought back Ben Simmons. Yeah, I don't know if you watched our show a little bit earlier when we talked about Simmons. That show is up on the channel right now. We talked about it for about 11 and a half minutes. We said that. I mean, we said it would be madness. Some people would want to burn down the Wells Fargo Center. It would be crazy. But it's intriguing in the sense that he's a really good defender.
Yeah, very interesting. I don't think I'd do it, but who knows, man.
All right, 2-minute Super Chat shot clock has expired. So we are going to sign off. We just wanted to go live quick, and a quick live show turned into an hour live show. So we've done 10 hours on Sunday, a few hours yesterday, hour today. I've got to go live on Eagles Now tomorrow, but maybe we could run it back with like an hour live show tomorrow night. We'll certainly see. We'd love to keep the channel hot and keep chopping it up with everybody. If you want us to go live one more time this week, give me a Y for yes down in the comment section. Give me a Y for yes. Tom and the Buckeye was here for our 10-hour live stream. No sleep till PG. Lord Buddy Bear, $2 super chat. Sorry, can't go big. Have to pay to get some teeth fixed. Hey, man, the smile is important. You know, when you meet somebody for the first time, or you're going on a date with somebody, or you're hanging out with somebody, and you're talking with another individual, oftentimes the teeth can be the moneymaker, man. Shawana, World Peace, Godspeed, Nice with it, Patrick Dempsey, Jalen Woods, Angela, Timon. They all said yes. Go live tomorrow. Philly Willie, I love that name, by the way. Philly Willie saying yes. Okay. Yeah, so I'm thinking, you know, there's a possibility that we could pull that off potentially. So that's why you subscribe. That's why you turn on those notices, because if we do go live, you'll be like, yo, Chase and Chip, they went live again. 76ers now. Let's hang out. Let's talk some ball. Hot hand quiz. Matt does Minecraft. Also typing yes. All right. Good stuff. Time in the Buckeye said we want 10 hours. I'm not sure when we'll do that again. It is a night that we'll always remember. And we were the first people on YouTube, by the way, to get a Paul George to the Sixers video out. That felt pretty cool, and that video has nearly 50,000 views. All right, we're out. For Chip, I'm Chase. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, Sixers. We'll see you tomorrow.